Look, let's dive into Apple. So let's talk about that one first. Remember, consumer electronics, the iPhone is really what this company is all about. As Seppo was intimating, this is the world's largest, most valuable, most awesome and wonderful company. They also, of course, make the Mac computer range, and they still sell iPods. They've got a valuable services business, you know, all of those iTunes and sales of applications and so on and so forth. Market capitalization, that's the aggregate measure of value, $654 billion. So there you go. Sometimes people talk about this one being the first to $1 trillion, but that's got quite a way to go still. Price to earnings ratio, a laughably cheap 13.25. Dividend yield, well, it used to pay no dividends. Now it does 1.81%. So summarize for us recent developments with the company and your sense of its value, where it stands on your shopping list.
Look, I think a few of the new developments, as we have probably every 6 months or so, launch of new products. We know that the iPhone 6S has come out.
iPhone success is how you mispronounce it. Not 6S, iPhone success. Because if you own an iPhone 6S, then you're clearly successful.
There you go. There you go. Fair enough. So those are the big developments. I think a new iPad, I think.
Yes, better upgraded ones, plus a really big one.
Yes.
I haven't seen one in the wild yet. But
which was somewhere in between a laptop and a tablet.
Yeah.
So I guess they're migrating into different sizes of devices.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see how that rolls out. But as you touched on before, as successful as their new products are, things like the iWatch and a few of those, because of the sheer size of the market for iPhones, really this is a deliberation around how successful iPhones will do, given what they make 70% of revenue from
it's
that
definitely
one device.
That's the core.
Yeah.
So like we know for the year that Apple has to the end of this coming September, which is like 2 days' time, they've sold like 233 million iPhones. So what you're saying is key to the company's forward valuation would be your estimate of how many iPhones they can sell for the next calendar year.
Sure.
So far, so good. I mean, there is a lot of uptick of sales desire for iPhone 6s anyway in China.
Yeah.
And, you know, while people think, well, hell, that's a lot of phones. Who the hell is going to buy one? There's a lot of people that still have iPhone 4s and 5s that want to upgrade. There are a lot of people that are looking to buy their first iPhone. It's still the premier product.
It is.
That everybody knows is the one you got to own, you know, if you want the best. You know. If you've got the $600 to buy one.
I don't have one, I'll declare that, my friend.
Why not?
My allegiances are elsewhere, devices-wise anyway. But certainly, I don't think that this is an area of the business that's X growth. I think a lot of people are pricing the business as if they aren't going to sell anymore.
You mean the 13 PE?
Yes, which isn't really a 13 PE given how much cash that they have on their balance sheet. But sure.
Just talk to us about that. So
Apple's got what, $170 billion cash on their balance sheet. The reality is they can't take that all back to the US and pay it out as a dividend, as an example, because of tax issues, right? They'll have to pay the differential between US tax rates and wherever it was earned. So they'll structurally have quite a bit of cash on their balance sheet.
And what do you think they're going to do with it long term? I mean, they could obviously raise a lot of money from doing corporate bond issuance in the US to pay a dividend if they wanted to, but do you think it's likely that they'll buy something? Or
Sure.
the other thing they could do with it is just spend more on their supply chain, and they've co-invested with Foxconn and other fab manufacturers.
Probably one of a few options for them. Once every decade or so, the US passes an amnesty for companies who hold cash outside the country. They'll probably wait for that before repatriating the cash and maybe using that for a special dividend.
Maybe President Clinton will say, look, it's fine. You can bring back all of those billions.
Maybe. Let's hope. Let's hope. Ultimately, they've got options. They're not typically a massive acquirer of businesses.
They've hardly bought anything.
Which has been great. They're focused on the underlying business and growing it organically. So I don't anticipate any major acquisitions from that aspect.
Okay, we've got to go hot or not. So for me anyway, Apple is a must own in everyone's portfolio. But it must be said that the history of companies that have been the world's most valuable hasn't been marvelous thereafter. A lot of companies have achieved that height only to stumble and fall. But to some extent, this company is already being priced for slower growth.
Right.
So if you buy them today, what's your view? You owning these?
I think realistically, you're not going to get 20% earnings growth from Apple, revenue growth as well, just by virtue of their sheer size. But even with a slower growth, I still see quite a bit more upside from current valuations. So I'd say hot on Apple.
Hot. Excellent. I'm definitely hot. Everyone's got to own Apple. I think they're going to sell a boatload of those phones. Everything's going to go very well. Sales is going to be huge.
Hopefully a few boats.
Yeah. Huge, exactly. Aircraft, tanker-sized amounts of cash being made there.